Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of Mental Mondays from here on Lake Tahoe, first day of practice. And man, it is cold out here. I got ice in my boat here, a couple of big chunks of ice. I think in all the years I've been fishing down here in Florida, this is it's probably the coldest morning I've ever remembered being in Central Florida. But it's supposed to warm up a little bit, so it shouldn't be too bad. But anyway, today, guys, we're talking about, on today's segment of Mental Monday, we're going to talk about loss. Abandonment, loss, that type of stuff. I think it's a topic that doesn't get talked enough about. It's something that affects every single one of us. You can, again, like with everything we talk about, you can apply it to your life, fishing in general. And I just got thinking about it, and I think that I'd like to share a few thoughts with that. And as with anything I talk about on this type of stuff, I'm no mental health professional or anything. So if you guys have, some serious problems you're dealing with, I highly suggest you guys, seek professional help. But I just sort of maybe serve as a little signpost here to point the way from my own personal experiences and, that what I've learned from others. So hopefully you can take away something from what I learned from it. So anyway, loss comes in several different forms, or many different forms. It can come in the loss of death of somebody close to you. It can come in, the loss of a friendship, a divorce, that type of stuff. It can come in a financial loss. It can come in a lot of different forms. And I don't claim to be able to relate to the level that some people have experienced loss, but I have experienced enough of it in my life that I feel like I can talk on it from my point of view a little bit. And so I sort of want to go through each one of those things and sort of give you my thoughts on it. First of all, let's talk about, loss a little bit from somebody that that dies, or a loss of a friendship, or a divorce, that type of stuff. Let's talk about a little bit about friendships and divorce. A lot of times when people lose a friendship, somebody close to them, lose, a marriage or something like that, or a relationship with a significant other, many times that can be more difficult and painful to deal with than actually if somebody close dies with you. I mean, if somebody close dies with you, there's an element of finality there that goes with it. It's sort of more of a natural process. But when you lose a friendship or a relationship in a certain way, a lot of times not only do you have those same feelings of grief and loss, but you have any residual things that you may have done wrong, or what somebody else may have done wrong to you. So a lot of times I think that the dissipation of friendships and relationships as a loss, it can be more traumatic than actual death at times. Not all the time, obviously, but I'm talking about a lot of times. I don't think it gets enough credit, for how it affects people mentally and physically, dealing with that loss. If you've been in a relationship for a long time, if you've had a long-term relationship, like if you've been married or something like that, and that ends, it can be debilitating to say the least. And couple different things I'll say with that. It's like and again, we're just speaking in generalities a lot, but if you're in a situation where you've basically been wronged by somebody in a friendship or relationship, excuse me, and they've done something to wrong you in a bad way, I think one of the best things that you can do with that is just say, those people are not meant to be in your life to begin with. And if that's something that they're going to do, if that's how they're going to treat you, you're much better off without them. Easier said than done, obviously. There's a grieving process that goes with that can take a long time. And I think that one of the most important aspects in loss is to accept the fact that there is going to be a grieving process with that. And you have to accept that grieving process for however long it takes. A lot of people, I think, when they experience some type of a loss, they want to just get over it and put it past them. But if you have a loss like that, you have got to allow yourself to grieve, and you're going to have highs and lows. You're going to have good days and bad days, but it always gets better. Eventually, it always gets better. There's so much truth in that adage that time heals. It really does. So in that situation, if you've been wronged by somebody like that, just say, that I just don't need that in my life. I'm much better off. If somebody's going to treat me like this or do something like that, then, there's a much, brighter picture down the road without that person. That's sort of what you have to tell yourself, throughout the process. Now, if you've done something to somebody else, say you made a mistake, did something to somebody else that caused you to lose that friendship, that is the opportunity for yourself to either continue that type of behavior or make a change. And a lot of times, once somebody's done something that they shouldn't have that caused the dissipation of a relationship, if that person uses that event for positive change, the good thing about that is you're going to have people that come into your life that allow the new person to emerge. Everybody makes mistakes out there. There's not a single person that does it. Nobody's perfect. We're all learning all the time. I think a lot of us, if we could take our 50-year-old self and go back and have a talk with our 20-year-old self, you can imagine how much less pain that we'd experience in this life with that. But like I said, if you were the one responsible for breakups like that in friendships, it's really a time for self-reflection. You have to look at what happened from an honest perspective and try to make positive change, because if you don't, you're not going to grow or improve as a person. And all this, like I said, I'm talking about, is much easier said than done with general guidelines with that. That another thing that comes in with that, as far as when you in relationships like that, when you have relationships with people, relationships are difficult. They're complex. They're not easy. I don't care whatever type of relationship you have, there's going to be issues that arise out of that. And those issues, you can either use those issues as a growing experience or something to set you back with that. Now, as far as talking about death a little bit, death is a completely different story, because, a lot of it depends on the circumstances around that death. How sudden it is, how tragic it is, how expected it is. There's a lot of different stuff that goes with that. But the grieving process that comes with death and the acceptance that goes with that is, again, it's something that just takes time. There's nothing that you can speed up about it on any particular level. And one of the best things that I found out about that is that whether you've lost somebody through death or through separation or something like that, you have got to be able to have some type of a network to share your feelings with. And you got to be able to surround yourself with people that listen, that are good listeners. Because I think a lot of people, if you do talk to somebody about losing somebody in your life, first thing they want to try to do is make it better. They want to try to fix it. And I think that's a natural inclination that everybody wants to do to somebody that's close out there. But when somebody loses somebody close to themselves in a death in whatever situation, it's important for that person that experienced that loss to be able to talk about their feelings and to be able to, express those feelings and let go of them. That is part of the healing process. That there's something very powerful about talking to another human being about your experiences that is truly listening. And if you're somebody out there that is being talked to, somebody has lost somebody and they want to talk to you, just listen. That's all you have to do. It's like you don't have to do something to try to make it better. Just being there and listening is enough. And a lot of this stuff that I've learned is from my own personal experience as far as what works and what doesn't with that. So there's nothing easy about that. I know that, like when I've lost both of my parents over the past few years, I've lost quite a few close friends. I've lost relatives, a lot. And as you get older, you lose that becomes more frequent. And every single loss that you have like that, it's never going to go away completely. I think that's one of the things everybody has to accept, that it's always going to be there. But eventually, that pain sort of transitions into memories a little bit, and those memories, you remember the good things about that person, whatever it was. So it's sort of the same in relationships too. A lot of times you'll look back and you'll remember the good things, people like that. I don't think it's any good to hold on to resentments and bitterness. it's a lot of it is we tend to think that, if we are some type of vengeful or want to get even or something like that, or wish bad to somebody else that will make us feel better. But probably the best thing that you can do to make yourself feel better is to look at everything that you see as a lesson, wish that person the best, and sort of move on with your life with that. Now, let's talk a little bit about loss more on a material level, financially, homes, cars, money, that type of stuff, which can be excruciating, painful as well. And depending upon the situation, it can throw people into a spiral as bad as any death or divorce or anything like that. I'll give you guys a couple personal examples of my own here to sort of give you the feeling with that. I'll give you a tournament example. I'll give you a business example. Sort of share a little bit inside of my life with you. Back in 2002, I fished the Ranger M1 tournament down at the Mobile Delta in Alabama. In this tournament, it was $1 million for first prize in the tournament, and you could win anywhere, a minimum of 600,000 and a maximum of $1 million, based upon how your sponsor alignments were. And my sponsor alignments were set up where I was going to win. If I won the tournament, I'd win $900,000. So anyway, I get down there, and everything was magical. It's like from the time I put my boat in practice, it's like everything clicked perfectly. I found the fish in practice, good ones. The first day of the tournament, I led the tournament. This was over 200 boat field. Led the tournament the first day, and then the second day of the tournament, I led the tournament the second day. And after the second day, I had almost a 10-pound lead over second place. Back then with FLW, what they did is after the second day, they didn't keep your weight. You didn't keep your weight like they do today. They scratched your weight down to 0. So the third day, they cut the field from 200 down to the top 10, and we all fished. And the third day, I went out and I led the tournament again on the top 10 day. I had 15 pounds, which was the big bag at Mobile Delta, and second place had 8 pounds. David Dudley had 8 pounds. So the third day, they cut the tournament to the top 5, and they scratched the weight again. You didn't even keep your weight for the top 10 day. So the last day of that tournament, the top 5 day, everybody's starting from 0 again. And I go out there, and again, everything's clicking perfect. I get up there, the fish are biting. I catch the biggest bag that I've caught all week long. I had 15 pounds and 4 ounces. And the camera boat driver I had, he lived there, and he said, man, he goes, Randy, that's the biggest bag I've ever seen this time of year. Congratulations, you're going to win the tournament. And I've got, a long run back to the weigh-in, and I'm running back there, and I just said, man, you're going to win $900,000 in this tournament. And I get back to the weigh-in, and to make a long story short, David Dudley beats me by 4 ounces. He comes in with a big bag that last day, beats me by 4 ounces. I looked at that back of that tournament, and if it would have been a normal tournament like we have today, I'd have won the tournament by almost 15 pounds and won $900,000. And as it turned out, I lost the tournament, the last day. When you're talking about loss, that had such a devastating effect on me that I went into a 3-year slump I couldn't get out of. And even to this day, it still affects me. That for some reason, I saw that as some type of universal injustice that was just, that had just crossed the line or something like that. And I allowed that to get to me. Instead of coming out of that tournament saying, Randy, you're, great tournament and everything, you just won $100,000 and some $1,000, just go on to the next one, which I did. I went on to the next one. The next week, we go to the Bassmaster Top 150 at Lake Eufaula in Alabama. And in that tournament, I lose to Denny Brower by 1 ounce. Denny beat me by 1 ounce in that tournament the very next week. And the last day of that tournament, I lost 2 bass over 5 pounds that I hadn't lost any all week. And when I took my fish out of the live well that last day of the tournament, I had 3 gizzard shad that were probably 7 inches long that got spit up. Every one of them probably weighed over 3 ounces. And I lose the tournament by an ounce to Denny the very next week after the M1 tournament. And that, like I said, that type of loss threw me into a spiral that I allowed myself to get sucked down into that spiral. So when you have something like that, and I don't care if it's something, if you've made a bad business decision in your life, or you've lost your home, or whatever like that, you have got to step back and take away whatever you can that you learn positive about that. Because if you allow that to suck you in, and if you allow that loss to control you, it will control you. And not only will it control you, it will affect every other aspect of your life. If you let loss and abandonment and that type of stuff affect you like it did with me, like with the M1 tournament and that type of stuff, it goes over into other relationships in your life. Your friends and your family suffer as well. Everything in your life, your health suffers. We all have challenges in life like that. You are going to lose. You're going to experience loss in this life, and you're going to experience abandonment. But the advice I want to give you guys right here is be aware of that, and be aware that you have got the choice to make. Nobody tells you how you have to feel about something or how you have to look at something. It's completely up to you. Every single situation, you have a choice. You have 2 choices. I can look at this tournament, I can look at this situation, feel sorry about myself, get all bummed out, get depressed, make everybody in my life miserable, or I can look at this situation and say, hey, this is life, that's the way life is, I'm going to accept it, I'm going to learn from it, I'm going to become a better person, and I'm going to move on, and I'm going to do everything I can to be a positive force for myself and the people around me. Again, guys, much easier said than done. It's much easier said than done. But anyway, that's just a few thoughts for this morning. I got to get out here and try to find some fish. Hope it makes a little bit of sense there. Like I said, it's that's one of the realities that we live in. We're all going to experience loss, and we all deal with it differently. Nothing easy about it. Like I said, the best advice I can give you guys is just rely on other people to talk. I mean, talking and sharing your feelings has a tremendous therapeutic effect on dealing with loss like that. So try to, develop friendships of people that are good listeners, and you can give that back to them sometime as well. So hope you guys are doing good. I'm going to get out here and try to catch some fish. We'll talk later.